Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilly Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and yes, we are going to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do the usual disclaimers, like the last two videos, sorry about the parents. I did just get off of work, and I dress for comfort during work days, folks. I get to work from home. I work in my jammies and my keep warm jacket. Okay. All right. So, folks, if you are unfamiliar with the Stop the Shock campaign, the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center, and the basically blah, brain dead, folks, really brain dead and at a loss of words. But for the controversy, that's the word I was looking for, controversy surrounding the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center, as well as the campaign against the troubled teen industry. Please, folks, go to the description box. You're going to find the pertinent links to all of this information. In particular, I want you to note the article that is linked in there that was written by NeuroClastic, a small non-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. Matter of fact, the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center does not want you to read this article so much. They have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit. They did not remove it off of their official website. NeuroClastic has refused. So, in particular, please read that article and share it on all your social media. We do, of course, have NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, and as well as a link to their GoFundMe in case the JRC actually decides to follow through with their threat. Trigger warning, when we talk about places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center and the Agape Boys Ranch, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people who have mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, folks, please go ahead and use those headphones, all right? Another trigger warning. This channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We do use profanity on occasion and we speak on dark subjects. So if your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously parental supervision is much advised, all right? So we're finally coming in to the end of the paper written by Shane Neuromeyer. I want you to mark the year right there on top of the page so you will see just how long we've been trying to push those bills to become part of the laws currently on the books that supposedly protect us. Okay? Long time. Long time. Conclusion. Children with disabilities are not systematically excluded from educational environments or permanently warehoused in institutions in the way they once were. That being said, they continue to be at risk for abuse and neglect in educational settings in ways that non disabled people are not through the use of aversive behavioral and supposedly emergency interventions. Exactly. So, we're not exactly under the mad scientists anymore. Although that's debatable when we start talking Dr. Matthew Israel, isn't it? But like you would often see at the beginning of some of these horror movies, that is actually a clip of what real life was like inside the institutions. That's what I'm talking about there. However, that being a fact, I feel like, and this is my own personal view, please hear me on that. This is simply, hear me out, lawyers, an opinion. But I don't feel like the institutions actually were gone at all. I think that they they became schools, didn't they? Didn't they? And if you don't believe, well, Tiffany, what about the troubled teen industry? Take a good long look at it. Do some of the research into it, because It is simply a rebranding of the institutions we base horror movies off of. Okay? They may not be giving us experimental lobotomies anymore, but you do have places like Yale that are blasting radiation into autistic schools. If you think that's a fantasy, it very much isn't. Look it up. All right? Let's continue. So, personal opinion, very obviously, the ideas of the traditional institution have gone. But the ideals that they were centered around has inspired the next generation of what I like to call camouflaged institutions. They simply use a more modern language to appease the masses. Just personal opinion there. Personal opinion built off facts that I have studied, things that I have encountered in my role as the advocacy specialist for this region of my state, and looking into cases like Agape and like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center. Okay? Let's move on. The physical and psychological consequences that these techniques can have are and have repeatedly proven to be severe. Yet the law as it currently stands provides students with inconsistent and insufficient protection with regards to when and how they are used. Courts traditionally afforded schools and treatment professionals with a large amount of deference in civil cases, and criminal offenses related to the use of aversives to go largely under-prosecuted. So what I want you to hear in this, see, you've heard me talk before about this almost quasi-religious belief that we have in our doctors and the so-called professionals, and how that has continued to shoot us in the foot. Well, I should say as a country, it shoots us in the foot. Meanwhile, it's us disabled people who have to pay for the bullet as well as the hospital bill for the bullet hole in my foot. You see where I'm kind of going there. Sorry, I ramble. It happens on occasion. You see my point, right? International human rights conventions are at best persuasive authority in American courts, even when the United States has signed on to them. So let me just be quite frank here, folks. The United States does not, I'm going to curse here, United States do not give a fuck about following any kind of international laws or rules, okay? They feel like they are the authority that can, you know, cause the consequences of others violating international law, but we don't feel like in our own arrogance that we should be held to the same standards as everybody else.
Hey, we sold cluster bombs to Ukraine.
If you see what I'm saying here. Because of that.
Oh, let me correct myself. We didn't sell them cluster bombs. We gave them cluster bombs for free.
So basically, what this means for us disabled people is those international laws that are used to protect disabled people in the majority of countries throughout the UN. The disabled people and people with mental health issues inside the United States are not protected by them. The holes in our constitutional laws that are actually on the books are so big with so many holes, they're almost close to useless. Because again, all you got to do is call it treatment, and it's a person with letters behind their name. And guess what? Yeah, that. Though, again, this is why we've been trying to push those two bills in particular for over a decade, so that we can finally act actually get the real protections in place that can be federally enforced in every single state across the union. So things like what goes on at the JRC Center will become a footnote in history and never happen again. All right, let's go ahead and close out. I'll give you the last paragraph on Sunday. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I know some of you, even though some of you are silent, you're conservatives. You're going to get your hackles up when I complain about the United States. Here's the thing. I care about my country too. However, how do you correct an injustice? Do you just simply not call out your country for how it treats its most vulnerable because raw America? Or do you say something? We're going to close on that. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. I know I did it twice. I'm going to do it again. Sue me. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye, everyone.